your HR has become the place your managers send every hard conversation, you don't have an HR problem. You have an ownership problem. And outsourcing HR is not going to fix that. It usually makes it harder to see because the escalation path gets cleaner while the accountability gets weaker. In this episode, we'll show you the 3 signals that HR is masking leadership dysfunction and the operating model that's going to put ownership back where it belongs. Today's guest is Ron Arosi from Automa. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. Well, let's jump in. Before we talk about outsourcing, I kind of want to go back to a moment where the leadership model started drifting. So kind of where HR became the place things went instead of, being owned. So let's see here. In a lot of organizations, they'll say, hey, we're going to outsource HR. And it sounds to them like it's efficiency. So they think, oh, this is going to be great. But that often correlates with leaders just avoiding the hardest parts of management: clarity, consequences, and direct ownership. So in your opinion, when does outsourcing HR stop being leverage and start being avoidance?
All right. Can I just interject? Why are you talking about HR?
That's what you said your expertise was.
I'm a software development. I run a software development company. I run developers at scale for companies. Offer CTO as a service. Do a lot of AI stuff, finance, algorithmic. I know nothing about HR.
All right, fine. Then let's pivot. Let's talk about how you started in your career. Why don't we start with that? What got you started in software development?
Right. So I started in about 35 years ago, so late 80s. I started when I got my first computer. I remember was for my birthday. I was offered, hey, you want to go fly to Disney World or buy a computer? It was about the same price to fly the entire family to Disney World or get a computer. I chose computer, silly old me. That's when I started. Started off with the basic and logo languages, and then I remember my first computer didn't even have a hard drive because they were so unimaginably expensive. Also, who needed more than 1 megabytes of data that you can fit on a floppy? So I started with 540K floppies. But yeah, that's when I started. Kind of really fast forward to mid 90s. I started a company that would offer web development services. I kind of got all hyped up about that new thing called internet. And it took a while to get customers. Obviously, I had to explain what the internet is before even discussing what their website should have. As the company grew and as we had more clients and as the internet started to become a thing in the public, then more and more clients asked if I can help them market and get eyeballs. And that led me through a rabbit hole where I ended up on the other side of it as an affiliate marketer for many years. And I've been doing this for a while, and that what led me to learn a lot about copywriting and sales and sales psychology and all that stuff. And that kind of what I think made my journey kind of unique, because I was always half of me was in the marketing and business, and half of me was pure coding and tech, and that all basically led me to build my next businesses all around this combination. I was in the edtech space for many years. Then from there, kind of grew into led me to algorithmic trading, because a lot of online ad exchanges behave a lot similar to what stock exchanges behave. And since I've done everything programmatically, kind of led me to that. And obviously, in the past few years, it's all about AI, and I feel that this kind of discovery that I felt in the mid 90s with the emergence of the World Wide Web, and then in the early 2000s with the emergence of mobile, I feel that this kind of revolutionary and explorative uh, land is here. So that's what I've been focusing over the past few years.
There's a lot to unpack in there. I mean,
Yep.
first of all, doing copywriting and being a software developer, for me, don't exactly seem like they mesh. As a software developer myself, and I've tried to learn copywriting, I always find myself defaulting to more of an analytical language, et cetera. How did you tackle that issue?
Uh, I had to, and I'm still doing it to this day. It's literally just turning on a switch that now I'm in this paradigm rather than that paradigm. Uh, but even that, everything that I've been doing is all being held by technology at the back end. So even if I'm writing an email copy, I make sure that that email um, tracks the number of clicks, the number of scroll within that email, who went to the website, did they install something. So I'm using analytical data in order to craft a copy. And it's interesting because right now I'm actually working on a side project for. I've created an infrastructure layer for AI, and one of the things that I'm building, kind of to demo its capabilities, I'm building a fully agentic magazine. So I'm literally teaching agents how to write in a way that's both has persuasion to it and editorial. So I'm actually building the personas and working to teach AI how to sound as human as possible and have its own kind of view on the world. So because if you have like 5 or 6 columnists in the magazine, you don't want them to all sound the same. You
Right.
want them to have opinions. You want them to have their own personality. So it's interesting to kind of now bridge all these kind of years of experience and try to teach this baby tech robot thing how to do that. So it's been a really interesting journey, and it's already kind of working. I'm still going back and forth fixing it. I'll probably write to a locally hosted version of the magazine for a month or two still before I put it out there, but just so I can fine tune everything. But it's a fully autonomous process. I have curator that kind of scans um, the web for interesting things, and then I have another agent which acts like the editor. It assigns tasks to, okay, this is more of your voice, this is more of your voice to the different agents, and they go ahead, write the articles. There's a fact checker that comes in later, and so it's an interesting process, and I'll be happy to share more about once it's fully ironed out.
So earlier you mentioned that you got into the software development space, basically web development in the beginning because of the kind of the emergence of the internet. But it kind of sounds like you're seeing a similarity to what I would call the emergence of AI and like the takeover of AI. How do you link those two? What similarities do you see between those?
Um, Mainly the early adopter mentality that you have with AI, um, because if right now, if you're in the right circles, that's all everyone's talking about, right? Everybody's talking about AI. But if you look at charts from companies like Anthropic that have statistics about adoption per industry, it's a very similar numbers to what we can see with similar reports from OpenAI. The software industry has only adopted AI at about 50%. Um, and the rest of the industries are well below 5%. Most of them are well below 1%. So I'm kind of been living in a bubble where we're running quickly and everything is happening, and the stock market is all about AI and chips, and but it's not there yet. And I think I think that I actually think that this year will be a pivot year because it's the models are that good right now.
So I came up during that time period as well when the internet was sort of just emerging, and I remember distinctly when it got to the point where you could, um, they called it dynamic HTML,
Yeah.
where you could write code behind and manipulate the DOM and
ASP pages
yeah,
started. Yeah,
exactly,
was
exactly,
the
and
first modern solution after Perl. Yeah.
yeah, and then you got to active server pages, and suddenly everyone was going online. They were selling things online. One of the things I see with AI, and I'm wondering what you think about this, is the companies that do integrate AI into their software are completely using like a credits model. So you get so many credits, and then when you're out, you have to buy more. What do you think is the reason for that? Because I remember back when people were doing active server pages, it was the same thing. Trying to find a host that could host your website if it was active server pages, it cost
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 times what a regular web host would cost. So
Right.
what do you think is the reason for the current situation where everything is done by credit?
Uh, well, right now, running your own models with AI is pretty unrealistic for most, right? So if you're an organization, a large organization that have the resources to train and host your own models with the GPTs at scale, I'm not talking about a single developer at home that is a single user hitting the model. If you want to serve lots of users, then it's going to cost you a lot of money, and sometimes it will just be, most of the times actually, it will just be simpler and cheaper to buy credits and pay OpenAI, Anthropic, Grok, Gemini, whoever your model of choice might be. The other reason is that the the local self-hosted models are, while they are getting crazy good, they are not state-of-the-art models just yet. I mean, they could be great at many different tasks. And if you're maybe doing a little switch in the way that you're thinking, you say, it's just like the best model that we had 6 months ago. And I was fine with that. So I might as well be fine with this. Um, uh, but they're not as good. And you always want the best models for thinking and for results. So yeah, if you need some simple models just to tell you to plow through logs of a server or do some analysis, the local models are great in terms of quality. They're still the matter of cost, but they're great in terms of quality. But if you really want kind of in-depth thinking and cross-matching for legal or health purposes or whatever, um, we're you even the state-of-the-art models from OpenAI and Anthropic, there's yet to be desired there as well. So let alone the open source. But um, we're a year to 2 years away at most to get to a point where all available models are good enough for almost everything that we need them to do. It's like most of us don't hire the best bookkeeper or accountant in the world. They're good enough. Most of us don't have the best lawyer in the world or the best plumber in the world. We're fine with them being just great. We
As
don't
long as we
need
get
to
the
have the
job done.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about Automaze. What specific problem were you attempting to solve when you started Automaze?
Ooh, that's like most things, that's an interesting question, because like most things, this market was revealed to us completely by chance. So I was just winding down another company that didn't work out due to product market fit. We actually had some great technology there. But as we were trying to figure out where we want to go, because I wanted to keep working with the development team there, kind of a friend of a friend reached out and say, "Hey, I'm having an issue." They had a great application. They had their own team, and it really caught on fire in terms of usage. So a lot of people kind of discovered it, and they started using it, and the servers just couldn't handle it. So they wanted to bring in someone who had experience in operating at scale and building production systems. And we stepped in there and helped their team stabilize everything and grow. And that was 3 years ago, and they're still our client. And but that kind of, we realize there's a place in the market for companies that either have their own internal teams and they need augmentation, or they don't want to have an internal team at all, and they just want that uh, grown up in that will come in and that has this experience, that have seen that, done that sort of thing, and that can help them. And we that's what we've been offering ever since. And we kind of call it the CTO and a technical co-founder as a service. We don't take up the equity or anything like that. We just make sure that we take ownership, though. So that's what a lot of founders and CEOs want. They want someone who comes in, understand the product, understand the business needs, and the business reasons behind the feature, and kind of how everything ties in together. Understand costs. Crappy code can work at scale if you just throw money at it by buying more servers, but it's not the best way forward. It could be like a simple hack, a temporary solution while you migrate old code to a new architecture, but that's not really the best way to go. And the way that we work is we fully integrate with our clients, and in whether it be GitHub or project management software or a Slack channel. So they're not getting that feeling that, oh, it's a freelancer that the other side of the world that might be hopefully working on what they need to work on. They have full visibility as to what we're doing. We're in full contact, sync and async contact with them on a near daily basis. And it's been work out ever since. We have a retention rate with clients of 92%. So we must be doing something good, I guess.
I mean, I've always said, get a client, keep a client is the way to stay in business, right? So if you've got 92% once they come in, it's just growth from there. So what's the most difficult problem that someone's come to you to have you solve? What is that most difficult problem?
Ooh, we had some interesting challenges. So we've been done for the past few years. We've been doing anything from mobile dating apps to a murder mystery type of quest game where the AI is the murderer, and so he responds to what you're doing as the detective. So it's not really easy to catch the murderer. It changes the modus operations as part of the game. We've done stuff in fintech, work for hedge funds. We've done work for a lot of the health industry clients. We have infrastructure stuff. I want to kind of reveal our clients due to obvious reasons, but one of the interesting things that we've done was for an insurance company it's an AI model, a custom AI model, where they upload images from the car accident, and automatically the model estimates the claim amount, hedges that on the financial team. So it's kind of an agentic pipeline. We're basically building right now. We see a lot of moving to build a company that's filled with AI agents that they can do a lot of the work, and yeah, it's been going great. We've been growing, and we've been keep hiring junior developers. Um, just kind of funny. I just had a conversation about this with someone, because you don't really need junior developers for their coding skills anymore, but you do need them for the pipeline if you want to have senior developers in a year or two from now. So they are sort of assigned to a senior developer as an apprentice, in order for us to have a senior developer in a year, or a semi-senior developer in a year, that can manage other AI agents. But that has been a nice direction that we've seen over the past year.
So I've seen a lot of like um, business owners online advertising the fact that they've um, let's say they're using a Shopify store, and they have a bunch of these add-ons to their Shopify store that
Yep.
they charge monthly for. Right? It's how the Shopify model makes a lot of money.
Right.
And they've discovered Claude Code, and they are replacing those add-ons with their own, custom add-ons.
Right.
Now, I personally have some concerns about that. But as a guy who's leading a software development company, um, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, in what time horizon? 2 3 years or 10? Because
Uh,
I'm not concerned at all about the 10.
yeah,
But there
yeah,
is going to be yeah, there's going to be a lot of issues in the near future due to shifting positions. Um, we've seen the industry make this shift so many times before, and you can see it now. There's more unemployment in tech right now, compared to this time last year, but more job openings compared to last year. It's just different jobs
right.
inside of tech. So the jobs are pivot. So we're going to come back to talk about what I think is going to happen during those 2 3 years of adjustment. But once we pass that, we're going to be back to a new normal. So the programmers are not going to be programmers. They're going to be architects that are overseeing agents. They're going to be this hybrid role that sorry about that. That's a hybrid role that is going to be a mixture of a senior developer, team lead, and product manager. So they're all going to be rolled out into one. Let's call it the architect. I think that's where we're going to see, and they're going to get paid a lot, because if right now, in order to, or right now ish, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, in order to have like a good startup, you needed um, a bunch of senior developers and a bunch of mid level developers and a product manager and a project manager and QA guy, and so right now, everything else, everything or almost everything, and definitely in a year from now, will be able to manage by a single person that has a lot of agents. That's not going to be just any single person. They have to be very special and very skillful, and they're going to be want to pay a lot more. So if you're used to paying 150, 200, $300,000 for a developer, you're going to see those architects taking home $500,000 to $1 million a year, because the company just need 10 of those. There are going to be a lot of other job openings in building custom models or fine-tune models, and in experience towards users, because depending on what your company is doing, your clients are always going to be humans, but your end users might not be humans. There might be agents working for a human. So if your service is more um, entertainment or shopping, but more in a stage of I want to see a collection and do my window shopping phase, there's going to be a lot of similarity to how things are right now. This is made for humans. They want to browse, they need menus, they need, so the experience is not going to be changed a lot. But if you are looking to buy the cheapest deal you can find on a 5-star hotel in Vegas during a specific period of time, you don't need to visit any website for that. This is just data mining job. So an agent could do that perfectly. So the more specific you are, I need some, I don't know, screws in that exact size, and that's my budget. You don't need to do any sort of window shopping for that. You just send an agent to do it. Plus, I imagine it's less fun to window shop for screws rather than clothes or stuff like that. So,
I think that a clothing store is way more interesting than Home Depot, for instance.
Yeah, exactly.
My concern about it, though, is that you have people who know nothing about programming at all. They don't know anything about development, and they're developing software that they're putting out into production environments. And I don't know that I'd want to put my credit card into that person's database, because I'm concerned about the backdoors that they're creating unknowingly, especially if they're using, a publicly available platform for writing the code. It's just a concern of mine, because one of the first things I remember, my very first job as a CTO, and I come into this place and I'm like, where's the firewall? We don't have a firewall. What's that? And then, the first thing we put into place was a firewall, and then come the complaints afterwards and everything. But over time, they realized, all those little issues we used to have, they're gone. That's
maybe it relates to the firewall thing.
Yeah, do whatever they want to do, and that's kind of my concern. Is you have people proudly proclaiming that, hey, I know nothing about software development and I developed this. Yeah. I think what you were talking about makes a lot of sense. Having somebody who's basically an architect who then can review the code that's written, make sure that it's solid. And I almost think of it this way. We started out talking a little bit about how you got into copywriting. You can put together like a custom AI model that you can run on like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, whatever, and it can give you pretty okay copywriting, but it still needs a human being to go through it and kind of give it that emotion. And we don't say things this way, we say it this way. And so I think that's going to be a position in the future, is somebody, they're going to have all these agents writing the code, and then somebody or a team of somebody's is going to be reviewing that code and getting that little head start that you get with a copyright written by AI. You'll have code that's written by AI. And then you're like, it kind of does the job, but not really the way that I would do it. This isn't safe here. Let's change that. I think it will speed up the development process.
And I think that one of the cool things about, first, it's a valid concern, and that's where, by the way, we see a lot of the new job openings coming at security and patching, at code quality. So a lot of but we all started that way. I mean, your first code probably sucked just as mine. So that's it's just a learning curve. That's part of the way. And I've seen people who had no experience, and their code actually gets better over time. And if they're starting off with like a personal project, go right ahead. Who cares if it's secure or whatever? But they also get. It was funny. I saw a tweet the other day from someone on that journey, putting on a screenshot from a chat they had with Claude. And Claude explained about, I'm trying to set up the CLI for Vercel in order to deploy this, and I'm downloading the Docker. And he said, "Oh my God, I understood everything." So, and he just started like a month ago, and it's a process, because it also depends on the way that you're wired. Because if you're like the vibe coder, just hopes to one-shot everything. First, you're not thinking creatively enough if you can one-shot your idea. But you much better had, and by the way, that's part of the reason why I prefer Claude over OpenAI, not because it's necessarily a better coder, but because it's a lot more chatty. I can see it's the thinking process, and I can see the progress that it's doing because it keeps on talking while it's coding. And I like to be able to say, no, no, you're going the wrong way. Let's shift things around. But for someone who's just starting out, seeing that thinking process is really, really good.
Yeah,
That being said,
that's actually an excellent point, because like you can use it as like a tutor to help you, like, you know,
yeah,
maybe give you a project that you should do, and then you
not
can give
just
it
do
your
it,
code.
but do it, explain why, and explain how it works, and build have a diagram. um, there's something that a story that I keep telling people, and because it's especially interesting now in the age of AI. About 10 years ago, I volunteered at my daughter's high school to teach computers. I taught them Python, and for the first 2 months or so, I didn't let anyone even touch a computer. I just wanted them to program, quote unquote, using a pen to paper and flowcharts. I didn't want them to care about, I don't know how to write this. The syntax is the last thing that's important. And true programmers have always been kind of fluent in terms of the language that they use because it's just syntax. I wanted them to learn the principles of this is how data should flow throughout the application. What are the edge cases? What I want to happen synchronously that the user is experiencing, and what's happening in the background. So I wanted them to think about all that. And especially in today's AI, you don't even need to know the syntax. But you need to know the code. And that's why I think those architects will be people that are, jack of all trades, masters of all, actually. And they're gonna be paid a handful. And we see this happening, and that's why we in Automates we invest in people. We keep hiring juniors, as I mentioned, not because we need their software coding skills, but we're gonna need them as architects later on. So we wanted we want to be able to train them for a year or two. Yeah, so I think that if to go back to what you were mentioning about your being concerned about putting your card there, that's a completely valid concern, and that's where we're going to see a lot of the models kind of improving, and a lot of services that's coming in. That there's a renaissance in the dev tools industry right now, because that's also kind of a shaky ground, because every day a new company starts and burns, and in extremely high valuation. But that's kind of the experimental era that we are, and I think we're gonna come out of it in by the end of this year, and much more. If you look at those 2 years between 1995 till 97, the in 95, most people didn't even know what AOL was. And in 97, 98, I think it was, there was a movie, You Got Mail.
Right.
So it was that prevalent in the society. So I think we're going to go through that. Everything that we went through in that era with the internet adoption, it's going to be compressed into 1 year now, because the geeks have already figured it out. And the user-facing solutions are emerging right now.
So are you taking these juniors and purposely training them in a way to develop them into that architecture mindset?
Yep. Yeah.
And
They need to know everything that's going on.
what are you doing to do that? Like what's the approach?
So we're going back to the Renaissance days, where part of your job would just be the literal apprentice of the senior developer, the current architect. So you just tail them. So even though it's a remote team, they work on a Discord server and kind of a joint thing. So they see everything that's happening. They're getting their own tasks, obviously. They're training, but they get exposure to everything from uh, this is how what the project should look like. This is how I'm writing the PRD. This is how I'm building the implementation plan. This is how I'm orchestrating the agents. This is how I'm doing QA. This is where I know things will might have a potential to blow up. Every programmer have this mental model of the software. Every organization has that guy that that person that if there's a bug, they pretty much have an idea of where it is coming from, not necessarily because they anticipated it, because the nature of the bug kind of hints to where it's coming from,
Right.
right? So they have to build that muscle. So you need to understand everything that's happening in the code. It doesn't mean that you need to learn it line by line, because I don't think they're going to be writing code at all by the end of the year. But they do need to make sure that they know what's written there, and they need to be part of the deployment. They need to be part of the server setup. They need to be part of everything, and they also need to be. This is something that we don't. I don't know. I guess you can improve that, but it's not something you can really teach. It's you need to be a product person. You need to be able to think about the user experience at all times, and not work under this mentality of that's what the client asked. So I've marked, I marked the checkboxes and I'm done.
Right.
No, if it doesn't make sense, push back. If there could be something that could be better, add it. If the design is not pixel perfect, make it pixel perfect. But you have to be a product person. And there's an amazing video that surfaced around. I actually try to watch it at least once, twice a year. It's when Steve Jobs came back to Apple in the mid late 90s, and the employees asking, why did you decided to kill this line of software? It's much better than Java. I don't remember what it was, but it's better than Java. And you can see Jobs kind of trying to calm himself down. He had a temperament, but he then went on to give a great answer, because you cannot just have a great technology and then try to figure out where I'm gonna shove it down people's throats. You need to start with the end user in mind and then work backwards to that technology. And if the experience is better, if in that case was Java, then it was in our internal tool. Even if our internal tool was technically better, it doesn't matter. Because if the developer experience, I think that they meant that with Java, the great thing was you can develop a cross-platform. So if the developer experience in that Java at that 25, 30 years ago is better for the developer, the fact that ours cooler won't make any difference. So you need to start with the end user in mind and then work backwards to that technology. So that goes to being a product person. You have to start with what's the makeup of the best product that we can ship, and then work backwards to what stack we're going to use, instead deciding, no, I'm comfortable with Next.js, and I decided that I want to use Postgres or Mongo, whatever it is, and now let's see what I can do with those technologies. No. You need to figure out what the product needs to feel and do, and then it's your problem to figure out what tools and stack.
Right.
It's not the user's problem. The user will never want to hear that the server is slow because we like, I don't know, stack X better than stack Y. They don't care, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's if an end user will ever hear, yeah, but the code is more elegant when I'm using language, A over language B. They don't care. They want it fast, they want it smooth, and they wanted to have some cool animations. And I'm not saying it in a kind of a derogatory way that the users don't know what they want. They know exactly what they want. It's your job to deliver it. So that's kind of the thing that when we hire, we try to see that someone is both a programmer and understands product as well.
Yeah, I had a situation when I was CTO, and I had a DBA, and we were writing restaurant delivery software. So think like Grubhub, doormat, etc. And he was writing a query for this release that was supposed to go out that day, and he comes to me and says, we need to delay this like 2 more days. And I said, why? Is there like a problem with the database or something? And he said, no, I've been working on this query, and it's pretty fast as it is, but I think that I can make it faster. And I said, okay, show me the screen we're talking about here. So he shows me, and like I'm telling you, just came up on the screen, no problem at all. Right. So I said, is that the typical performance? Yeah. I said, okay, so then what are you looking at here? This is what I think I can shave about a millisecond off of the query. Now this is a DBA. We both know DBAs, they think differently. Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, you loaded that on my screen. We're actually on the backup internet connection today, and yet that loaded so fast that I couldn't even blink and it was already there. Why do you think that our customers will care that loads 1 millisecond faster? He said, well, they won't, but I will.
That's right. And
I'm not playing 2 days if it's only for you.
And customers can get it in 2 days. That's fine. Yeah. Just ship what you have.
Yeah. Well, exactly. If it's going to only take you 2 days to fix this query, you could do that behind the scenes. We don't have to worry about delaying the entire launch because so that kind of brings us full circle back to something you mentioned when I asked you your thoughts on people using like Claude Code to write production code, and you said, well, that depends. Are you talking about in 1 to 2 years or 10 years? Tell me, I like to kind of wrap up these shows with like a big question. So tell me what your thoughts are. Where do you see the software development industry? What's it going to look like in 10 years? So you're, right now, if you're a software developer, you find a job somewhere, you start out as a junior, you work under a senior, you work until you prove yourself, and you slowly move your way up. But you don't really have to know a lot about product. You just have to know, this. You have a product manager, they tell you what to do, etc. How is that going to change in 10 years in your mind?
That's going to die entirely. I'm very opinionated about this because it's going to sound harsh, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you had a job in programming just for your typing abilities, let's call it, then you were just a temporary solution. Right? It was never a moat for you. It was a temporary solution. But if you bring something else to the table, like I mentioned, you bring product knowledge, systems knowledge, you understand how code relates to business needs, you're probably going to have to do some pivots, but your job security is fine. But a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs, and on a long enough time horizon, I'm fine with that. Looking back to 2008, it was a catastrophe, but here we are enough time later, and everything's fine. It wasn't fine for a while for a lot of people, and I'm sure it's still not fine for some due to that. But for the vast majority, it's water under the bridge. So that's why I'm saying that even though there's going to be a hell of a time for, in a bad way, for a lot of people over the next 2-3 years during that adjustment period, it doesn't mean that over the 10-year horizon, they're not going to just find their place. Another thing that I want to say is, you keep hearing about, I just developed, I think it was CNN or NBC. I just developed Monday CRM with using Claude Code for myself, and then the stock crashed. Do you really think that the code for any software company ever was the moat? It was never the moat. Every software that was somewhat popular had a clone within days. Just remember how many Groupon type websites we had a month in after Groupon launched, right? It was never the moat. The moat was business development, strategy. It was marketing. It was distribution. That was the moat, not the fact that you can code a CRM. A CRM is just a database. There's nothing to code there. but give me a better experience, give me a better workflow, then I'm gonna pay you for the CRM. But if I'm a single person company and I'm using a CRM just to manage my 10 clients, I don't need a CRM to begin with. I don't even have to code it with Claude Code. I can just use the spreadsheet.
I was going to say Google Sheets works for that.
Yeah, exactly. So it really depends on your need. It's never the mode. At the end of the day, if you keep digging through software, you're going to end up with a database table. So it's for most for most software. So it's that's how you need to think about it. That a business is much more than the product that the users gets to see. There's so much ERP. You look at Shopify, say, what? It's just some pages with some products and shopping cart. Sure. For a single store that wants to sell 8 products, fine, I'll give you that. You know what? You can vibe code your own shop. But now you wanna you're gonna vibe code your way into integration with the shipping providers and with Stripe and with dealing with refunds and all this stuff. To what? To save how much money per month? Seriously, I'm asking. To save what? What have you gained by saving those? I think what, like $30 a month? Something along those lines.
Exactly.
With a bunch of add-ons, you're at 100. What did you really save? Do you think that the time you spend and the responsibility of maintaining that, if those $100 is what makes or breaks your business,
Yeah,
you don't have a future in the business anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that saving money in that way is very short-sighted, because people don't understand how. Like, I had somebody a long time ago. You got WordPress. It's a free download. You can build a really nice website with WordPress. And I had someone come to me and say they wanted to build a competitor to WordPress. I'm like, why would you want to do that? There's already Drupal. There's already WordPress. What more do people need?
Yep.
And then what kind of a task are you giving yourself long term when you watch WordPress and every single week they're releasing a new build and a new build and a new build and a new build to fix this patch and fix that?
You mentioned the plugin.
And all the plugins, exactly. And then all those things have to be tested to work with the new upgrades. And we all, as software developers, we all know, that one sentence that you always use is true. Anytime you have to write code, you don't know how many problems you're going to introduce into the overall code base. You just don't know.
Yeah,
and maintenance it's terrible when you have to do it yourself.
Exactly. And again, if you want to have your own blog, fine, go ahead, vibe it, do it. That's fine. But if you think that you're gonna work from your garage and you're gonna take on WordPress,
yeah, good luck.
I'm not saying zero chance, but very close to that, in a way that the people win the lottery, but it's not a strategy.
Right. That's not
they win the lottery, but I'm not gonna plan for that.
Yes.
Right. So that's the same approach. It could happen. You can vibe code something that someone would find really cool and it can take off. The likelihood is close to none.
Of course, then you've probably given yourself a more than a full-time job at that point too.
Exactly.
It takes off. So this has been an interesting conversation here. Why don't you let the listeners know how they can connect with you if they want to reach out and find out more about what you do?
Sure. I'm on x.com/Aroussi, AROUSSI. And if you're into AI and you're building stuff, my book is available for free on productionaibook.com. It's a woozy. It's a 650-page book. I had a lot to say, obviously. And these are the best places to reach out. And I'm more than happy to connect with people.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure those are in the description and people can find you. But really appreciate the time that you took today coming out here to talk to me.
Sure thing, man.
So, all right. Well, this has been another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. New episodes every Friday, live stream to YouTube and LinkedIn. If you have a problem where all the decisions in your organization have to route through you, then you need to take our diagnostic test, the Firefighter CTO quiz. It's located at firefightercto.com. And thanks, and we'll see you next week.